visiting Assisi. We're also going to be staying in Siena, which was Kelly. You've never stayed overnight in Siena. You're going to love it. So we're staying overnight in Siena. And Kelly, you've never been to San Gimignano, which is known as the medieval Manhattan because of all the towers that still remain and surround the city. And so there's great historical significance in that city, but also it's a very Catholic city with Saint Fini as a beautiful story behind her in terms of her sacrifices. But so there's going to be some really unique places. And so we'll hit Tuscany, we'll hit Umbria, and then we're going to go to Lazio for Roma, and it'll be phenomenal. So it's next October. It's the middle of the month, actually about this time of year. Gorgeous time to go. I mean, the colors.
Yeah, let me
and
just see if I can
vineyards.
find the
Yeah.
website.
The website.
Yeah.
One of the things T talked about was Bagno Reggio. And when you're on our website there, the Wine and Shrine. So if you go to winepilgrimages.com, and you don't need to do this now, Dorothy, you can if you want. But when you go, well, actually go to Journey with Us. Click on Journey with Us up there in the right-hand corner. Let's let the ladies journey with us. Okay, now scroll down. Scroll down to the picture. There you go. Keep going. There's Bagno.
There it is.
Wow.
And doesn't it? I took that picture. I mean, doesn't that look surreal?
Wow.
It is just a beautiful, beautiful little place. But
that's one of the places we're going. It's called Civita Bagno Reggio, and it's about a half hour from, not even a half hour from Assisi and a half hour from Orvieto. And if you look and you see that trail that goes up that hill, what's interesting about it, they used to have a road where you could drive cars into the village, but because the earth was actually crumbling, it's called the dying or the floating city, because when the clouds are around, it looks like it's floating above the clouds. But you have to buy a little ticket, and it's about, I don't know, maybe half a mile long walk. It's not that big of a deal. At the end of it, though, it's interesting because it does make a quick hike. It goes a little bit higher, so it is a little bit of a walk, but it's a lot of fun. The town is so tiny, and it's actually the birthplace of Saint Bonaventure. So it has a lot of Catholic history, and there's wonderful little piazzas and little stores and little restaurants in there where you can have a glass of wine, a piece of pizza. There's a very nice gourmet restaurant. If you see where that tower is, right behind the church is this really fancy gourmet restaurant, but this just looks like a dream. It looks fake, but it's actually real. And Kelly and I had a beautiful day there. Even though the night before it was the first night we were in Italy, and we were so tired, and we got up the next day and walked. And we never forget walking up the end of that hill. Kelly goes, "Did you plan this?" Because I'm so tired, but it was fun. We had a great time.
Yeah. So so Dorothy, if you scroll back up, so ladies, it's winepilgrimages.com, and then if you just hover over our pilgrimage up on the right hand corner there, it'll drop down, and there you'll see Wine and Shrine. There it is, 2023. We've got tips on there. We've got good reads. We've got things you can read to help you prepare. And one of the things is, before we even go, like if we have a big group going from Minnesota, we meet at a restaurant one night, and we give them the tips and stuff. We do a little video. We send out a video. We give, as you're preparing the 21 days before pilgrimage, you're preparing for pilgrimage. So you're going to get an email from me and T, and part of the email is going to be spiritual. Here's what we're going to work on. Let's prepare this. Part of it is going to be practical. T's tips, things about eating pasta, when you should not order a cappuccino, all these little things.
How cutting pasta could be taking your life in your hands, especially with me on board. Just saying.
Yeah, so someone's asking here in the chat. I want to, where did I go? Let me just, okay. Someone's asking here in the chat that, do you have pilgrimages for couples or families, or is it just women? And if it's just women, why just women? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. I'll let Kel talk about the women's pilgrimage, and then Deacon Dom and I also do couples pilgrimages. So Kelly, you take it away.
That's exactly what I was going to say. See, I was going to say, I can talk about the women's pilgrimage. T and Dom do a great couples pilgrimage. Well, this one is just women, and for the reasons we were talking about, just that spiritual bonding that we need in order for us to continue to live this life of holiness. We just think it's so very important. And a lot of times people are like, "Oh, but I was going to go to Italy with my husband." And I'm like, if you come with us, we'll teach you everything about it, and then when you go with him, you can look really smart, and you're not going to be lost either. You'll be like, "Oh, I can't wait to," you'll be excited. "I can't wait to show you this, what I learned here." But there is just such a unique beauty to being with just women. It's really, it is powerful. It's a powerful time. It's what, 10 days out of your life. And I think for anyone whose vocation is motherhood or is being a wife or is, being a teacher, anything, whatever it is, we need those times to refresh and revive so we can come back. And like you said earlier, Dorothy, well, don't feel guilty about going to your mom's group, because this is what's going to help you.
Yeah, don't
Keep
feel
sane.
guilty about going on,
Right.
I think that we need time away from our, families, just to kind of revive, rejuvenate, and we come back more interesting, we come back more revitalized, and it can actually improve, your marriage. So I don't know, those are the just kind of
I was actually going to say you could come back a few pounds heavier, but here's the beauty of Italy.
You walk
Even though the food's
everywhere.
great, you walk everywhere. I mean,
And everything is up in the small towns.
but it's
The
good.
news
It's a
is,
good workout.
we don't want that to steer anybody away from it, because if people do have, let's say if the walking is
True.
difficult, Italy has great taxi service. They even take you less than a half a mile, as I just explained. But no, they have taxis everywhere. And what's great about our guides is they will say, okay, this is going to be might be a little strenuous. So if you want a cab, let's order it now. Don't worry about it. So don't even let that bother you. It's actually kind of fun though, to be in these hill towns, because they literally are hill towns, and they're hill towns because they're on top of the hills, because in the valleys of Umbria and Tuscany and all over, it's very, very hilly countryside. But that is just an experience to do that walk. It really is. And yeah, again, if you feel that you can't handle it, it's not a problem. We put a lot of ladies in the cab together. If they think, okay, I want to take it easy today, it's not a big deal. And the other thing too, if you do feel that, maybe I don't want to do everything, that's fine. This is your pilgrimage. There's things that people will choose. Well, I'm not going to go that today. I think I'm just going to stay back in the hotel and relax, or I'm going to do my own thing. That's fine. That's up to you. But again, we really try to accommodate everybody in this situation. But getting back to the original question about the women. So we have the women's pilgrimages, and then Deacon Dom and I do a lot with couples, but then we also do general pilgrimages. We've got one coming up in a few weeks, in less than a month. We've got our first Tees Italy premier pilgrimage, and we're staying in Orvieto, Assisi, and we're going to Rome. We're going to Viterbo, the site of the first papal conclave. We're actually going to go to Greccio, where St. Francis established the first crèche. We're going to see where St. Thomas Aquinas preached. There's actually an amba where he preached from. So I guess that would be a relic, a second or third class relic. So that's coming up in November. And then I'm doing pilgrimages to Italy through Tees Italy every year. We've got one possibly coming up in May. And then also, of course, we have the wine pilgrimage, and we have general ones that we do. The one that we're doing in November is general. We have couples trips that we do. It just depends on the type of requests we actually get from people. But we've had repeated requests to do this wine and shrine. It's been so popular.
Wow, we've got here a shout out. One of our regulars is Lynette from Honolulu. Aloha, Kelly.
Oh, aloha.
Ah,
I
aloha.
met you in 2019 in Hawaii. Thank you for this. So a big warm welcome. And so Donna is also one of our regulars. Do you have pilgrimages for couples? Yes. So
yes.
You want to connect with
We have the Good News Marriage Cruise coming up in January. If folks want to check that out, that's on my website at teresatomeo.com under events. So goodnewscruise.com or teresatomeo.com under events.
Yeah, now this is just a little tip for, the moms out there. One thing that my grandmother, Zofia Widziszewska in Warsaw, that one thing that she always did with my mom's family, and then my mom passed it down, that whenever we left Toronto to go anywhere, the first stop was always a Catholic church. Right. So even if you're not going on a pilgrimage because you've got 6 kids and you can't go, for whatever reason, you can always make sure that your first stop is a Catholic church. And, I'll never forget, we once went, many times to Martha's Vineyard. I'm a big fan. And it's like, oh yeah, I know, Mom, I know, we got to go to the church and give God thanks for a safe trip. It's just a really, practical little tip. And I can't tell you, once we were traveling, my husband and I, internationally delivering corporate seminars, and there we were in New Zealand, and we arrived at a crazy hour and the churches were open, and we'd like, okay, let's keep up tradition. You know, we go into the church and a priest was wondering what we were doing there at some crazy hour, then invited us over for breakfast, then invited us over for an ordination. And when you make that first stop, a Catholic church, and then your last stop is a Thanksgiving, it's just a really practical way.
Well, but also God shows up. Did you see what you said there? And how God showed up, and that was God, you know, welcoming you, and you had those experiences. We've had that happen, and we have a funny story related to him. We always do that too. As a matter of fact, when we go to Assisi, we make a point of going to, when we do our tour of St. Mary of the Angels, which is in Lower Assisi, we try to make it for confession. So the ladies can start out their pilgrimage if they haven't had a chance to get the sacrament of reconciliation. And the first time we did our trip, there's one of Kelly's best friends. She's actually refers to her as her godmother, Dee, is the sweetest lady in the world. Brilliant beyond belief. She's just got, I don't know how many business cards she carries because she has so many titles and so much incredible experience and knowledge. I mean, she's just brilliant. So she went to confession, and she was in there for so long. And we're thinking, what is going on? I mean, this is such a sweet lady. I mean, we didn't see her on the news for committing any heinous crimes or anything. And we're thinking, what's going on? And she comes out, and the priest found out that she was from America, and he loves EWTN, and he wanted to know about if she knew Mother Angelica and all about EWTN, and she made a new friend. So she, you know, her confession, I think maybe it was like 10 minutes, and the rest of the conversation was like a half an hour, and we're waiting for her. It was just really, really funny. But yes, that is a great thing to do, and we actually try to do that on every pilgrimage when we first arrive. Great. Yeah. I did see a question pop up about
there's a couple of them here. So do you?
Yeah, and I wondered, someone asked, if you don't have a friend, can you get a roommate? Can you request a roommate? Absolutely. Kelly, you had that question, I think, last night too.
And I did. And one of the most beautiful things about that is that I look back at in 2004, my first pilgrimage to the Holy Land, and my roommate, I didn't know anyone. And my roommate was Kristen, and she's still one of my best friends. You know, it was just like, you just all of a sudden, we see that a lot. We connect people. I had someone yesterday, I was leading a retreat yesterday. And a young woman asked me the same thing. I'm like, absolutely, we will connect you with someone. And you see these great friendships come out. And then someone said, is there an average number of people? Judy is asking, is there an average number of people on your pilgrimages? And yes, T and I are very kind of adamant about this, because we really believe it's important for us to have this relational aspect. And we want you to relate with us too. Like, we don't want to be like, oh, well, there's our leaders, but we only saw them twice, you know, for 10 days. We're just one of you, and we want to be with the people. So we are adamant about one bus. We will do one bus.
Right.
And it just, you know, first of all, you're with women. And so trying to herd 200 women would be a little difficult. But it makes so much more sense. There's just such a bond there. And I want to say one more thing, you know, because you talk about this pilgrimage, and there are times where you get walloped by a saint. Saint Clare did it to me, where all of a sudden you're overcome with pain or a wound is brought up, and there's healing there. I think of one of our friends, Julie, who was with us on our first pilgrimage, and everything she was going through with Claire and Francis, and it was just so powerful. So there's these tears that often come up as you're healing and these woundedness. And then there's this beautiful laughter, because there's so much joy. Joy is the fruit of the Holy Spirit. And this is just, you know, drenched in the Holy Spirit. So this joy is coming out of this beautiful unity that we feel. And so I always think, you know, it's kind of funny, to quote Dolly Parton, you know, but it's from Steel Magnolias, where she says, laughter through tears is my favorite emotion. And that's what you see on a pilgrimage. You see the laughter and the tears, and that's where we see the cross too, because you've got the joy at the foot of the cross. In pilgrimages in life, we're going to be carrying our crosses, but when you've got your sisters, when you've got your support team, when you have your Lord, when you've got your sisters, the saints, or Saint Francis,
the Mass, daily Mass too.
And daily Mass, you've got the Eucharist, you've got the sacraments, you have the joy. So you get that joy at that foot of the cross too. It's just it's such a powerful experience.
Yeah. And someone was asking about the cost. If you go to on the pilgrimage website that Kelly has put together, and you download the brochure, the cost will be on the brochure. So make sure you
Mhm.
download that, and everything is explained there. And the itinerary, we give you the towns, but some things are subject to change where, we like to be flexible because there may be something coming up or maybe a festival or something you want to do. And so we kind of move it around. But in terms of the sites that we're going to see, the actual sites in terms of Rome, Siena, Assisi, San Gimignano, Orvieto, Bagnoregio, those will stay the same. We may kind of fluctuate the schedule or the itinerary depending what time Mass is available or when we can get to a particular program. But overall, everything pretty much stays the same. But
Mhm.
make sure you download the brochure, and that gives you all the details and also talks about the price, and then gives you the price if you have a roommate or if you go on your own. So
And
And a
it's all.
$200 discount if you do it before December, or no,
Oh, that's right.
November 4th or 2nd, I can't remember.
Right. So
But
you have a couple
and
weeks to get a $200 discount.
Yeah,
and kudos, I just want people to just to say that Teresa, what you're saying, you have to be subject to change. Ladies, T knows Italy and she's got connections. And so when we say subject to change, this is one thing one of the ladies yesterday was saying, 'cause she's been with us twice. You are just amazed by the places you get in at the, we do some really good,
Yeah.
we have some, we keep some surprises that we don't tell the women that are big when they're there, just to give them that factor. But there are days too where all of a sudden she's just like, you know what? Let's get a group and we're going to Campo di Fiore. We're gonna
Yeah.
do this and we're gonna go shopping, or and the women are just like, oh man, this
Or
wasn't on our
Trastevere,
itinerary.
our favorite area of Rome.
Trastevere,
We'll
yeah.
take them to Trastevere, which is this area that's tucked over along the Tiber River, and it's where all the Romans hang out. And they say, well, I want to go where all the Romans hang out. So I take them and we do my little tease side trip. And I love Italy. I've been blessed to be there over 70 times. And I do know it like the back of my hand. And I've been to all these different places, thanks be to God, because of my work in Catholic media and the trips I've taken. And I want people to experience Italy as we experience it, because every time people come with us, they want to go back. Would you say that, Kat?
Yeah, now one thing we haven't talked about, and I want to make sure before we wrap up here,
Oh,
is traveling post-COVID, right? Like what?
It's just like, actually, it's no big deal. I mean, it was, for example, I went back in last year in 2021, and it was like working with a hazmat team. I mean, it was crazy. I felt like I was covering another story, like I was in the secular media, and I'd show up and everybody would be in those uniforms. It's kind of funny because in 2021, the first time I went back was in June of 2021. And I went with John Hale from Corporate Travel, the president, and we were checking out a few new places. And it actually was kind of comical because I had to get tested 2 days before I left Detroit. I had a test when I landed in JFK. And then I had a test when I got to Rome. And then even before we were let through Fiumicino, and we were the first plane that landed in Rome after Italy opened up. They had these guys in hazmat suits, and we had to do another test, and they let us go through. Now it's just like it was pre-COVID. There's no testing. There's no quarantining. There's nothing.
Oh,
it's
good.
funny because that changed just earlier this year. I think they dropped it in May. And Deacon Dominic and I had a little system where we would go to our favorite piazza in Trastevere. And there was a stand there, basically a booth where you could get your testing done. It was right by one of our favorite wine bars. So we had a system. We go get tested. We go have our favorite drink, Aperol Spritz or a wine. And in 20 minutes, we go back and get our test results. So those places aren't there anymore because you don't need the test. So it's very fine. It's no big deal. It's all back to normal. Thank you, God.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
It's hard to believe it's almost 3:00. Oh my gosh, where did the time go? So I guess there's a couple of other questions here. Where do y'all meet to fly over? Which airport?
Well, it depends. Normally people want to make their own arrangements. And so usually what they do is if you're in the United States, they'll fly usually to JFK. And then if we're going there, we can meet you. But normally Kelly and I go ahead to make sure everything's okay. But corporate travel helps you with all that. They are so good, and they'll give you the best, try to get you the best deals in terms of your flights. And so you can fly, for example, from Toronto, has a lot of flights to Italy because we know there's a lot of Italians that are in Toronto. And even in Windsor, which is very close to me, even people from Italy and Windsor are going up to Toronto and then flying directly to Rome. So if you're in the Toronto area, you've got, I think, a really good chance of having a direct flight to Rome. So I would check with your carrier, and corporate travel will help you work that out. But I hope you sign up soon to get that $200 discount and to join us. We already have at least 10 women from Minnesota. And I know we have 3 repeats from Michigan that are coming.
Wow.
So we've got 13, 14 people signed up already. So we really want you to take advantage of this.
Yeah, so.
And one quick last thing too, for those ladies, when you're flying over, like from Atlanta or Detroit or wherever, corporate travel is so good. We'll tell you other groups coming with you. You know, we can connect you before if you're going to be on the same flight. But no matter what flight you're on, T and I meet you at the airport in Rome. We are right there when you come off the plane.
So there's no like, where am I?
Yeah.
What am I doing? And
Yeah, I know. And, the thing is too, like, even in, Catholic circles, you got to find women that you connect with, right?
Yeah.
And that, my kids went to an independent Catholic school for a while, and I'm like, to some women, I'm like, woo-hoo, they're a lot holier than I am, And so the one thing I've kind of, one of my goals is just to kind of like be a normal Catholic woman, right? Like just normal, love the things, love shopping, love praying, love wine, love venerating relics, love going to church, and love a good meal, right? And so the one thing that really just excites me with, Teresa and Kelly is just kind of like normal Catholic women.
We are. We're so much fun. We really are. And we make fun of ourselves.
We're so humble. We're so humble.
We're so humble. We're just like Dr. Ray Guarendi, who says he's the most humble man in the world. But no, we have so much fun. I will say this, bring your Depends or whatever you need, because you're going to need them, because you're going to laugh so hard.
I love it. Anyway, to all of you here, thank you so much for joining us. Dorothy Pilarski, Midday Moms. If you want to learn a little bit more about starting a Catholic moms group, it's really easy. It's 3 words, CatholicMomsGroup.com. And we hope one of you will be inspired, because if you start a small community of women in your parish, you're going to change lives, I promise you.
Amen.
Yeah, and I hope to see you all. If you're here from Toronto, join us on Wednesday, the feast day of Blessed Carlo Acutis. We're in the middle of doing his novena now that will end on the 12th. So come pray with us. We have a potluck event after the
That's awesome. And come to Italy, because we're going to venerate his tomb in St. Mary Major in Assisi, where he's buried. So come with us, please, next year.
Yeah. Don't tempt me there, girls. Okay. So thank you very much, Teresa. Thank you, Kelly.
Thank you.
Love you all. And maybe see you in Rome, sweet Rome, right now.
Yeah. Ciao, ciao.
Okay, ciao. Arrivederci. Okay.
Arrivederci.
Okay, bye-bye. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us. Thank you.